There comes a point in life when you realize that no matter how carefully you plan, no matter how hard you try to control every detail, the outcome is never entirely in your hands. You can map out your future, take every precaution, and work tirelessly, yet life still has a way of unfolding in ways you never expected. Some of those moments bring joy so overwhelming you know it could only have come from above. Others bring trials so heavy you feel the weight pressing on your very soul. It is in those moments, the ones that strip you of certainty and leave you with nothing to hold on to, that you discover the true meaning of trusting Allah. I remember hearing the words of someone who had lost everything in a single day. His home, his income, even his health began to fail. Yet his voice was steady when he said, "I know Allah has something better for me." To some, that might sound naive, but to him, it was the deepest truth he knew. He understood that his sight was limited, but Allah's vision was limitless. He could only see the storm, but Allah already knew the rainbow waiting beyond it. Life has a way of reminding us over and over again that we are not in control. The loss of a loved one, the collapse of a business, a sudden illness, or even a small disappointment. All of these are moments that push us toward one of two paths, despair or trust. Those who despair lose themselves in the why and the what if, turning their pain into a prison. But those who trust place their hearts in the hands of the one who knows the end from the beginning, and they find a peace that cannot be shaken. Trusting Allah is not about doing nothing and expecting everything. It is about walking into the unknown with both faith and effort. It is about planting seeds, watering them with prayer, tending to them with patience, and knowing that whether they bloom in this season or the next is up to Him. It is believing that even the delays, the detours, and the doors that close are part of a design that is more beautiful than anything you could have drawn for yourself. If your heart is restless, if you are tired of carrying burdens you cannot fix, then maybe this is the reminder you've been needing. Place it in Allah's hands. He has never failed His promise, and He never will. The same Lord who split the sea for Musa, who saved Yunus in the belly of the whale, and who brought life to barren land after drought, is the one who is watching over you now. Trust Him fully, and He will handle the rest. Letting go of the illusion of control is one of the hardest lessons a person can learn in life. From the time we are young, we are taught to plan, to prepare, to work hard, and to believe that our success depends entirely on our own effort. While effort is important, it can also create a subtle arrogance within the heart, a belief that if we just do everything right, then life will unfold exactly as we expect. This mindset works until something unexpected happens, until a job is lost, an illness strikes, a relationship ends, or an opportunity we counted on suddenly slips away. It is in those moments that we are forced to face the truth. Control was never truly ours to begin with. We live in a world that constantly tells us to take charge and make things happen. But the reality is that no matter how much we prepare, there are countless variables outside our reach. We cannot control the weather that destroys a harvest, the economy that impacts a business, the hearts of people we deal with, or the hidden changes that can alter our plans in an instant. These uncertainties are not accidents. They are reminders that control belongs only to Allah. He alone is the one who determines outcomes, who allows or withholds, who opens doors and closes them. Accepting this reality is not a call to give up on effort, but a call to realign our hearts so that our trust is not in our plans, but in His decree. The illusion of control can also lead to immense anxiety, because when we believe everything depends on us, failure becomes terrifying. We overthink every step, fearing that a single mistake will destroy everything. We replay decisions in our minds, wondering if we could have done more. This burden is exhausting, and it robs us of the peace that comes from trusting Allah's plan. When we realize that outcomes are ultimately in His hands, our work becomes an act of worship rather than a desperate attempt to force results. We give our best, but we leave the results to Him, knowing that His wisdom is far greater than our own understanding. Letting go of control does not mean becoming passive. It means shifting from a posture of ownership to one of stewardship. We are responsible for what is within our reach, our intentions, our effort, our patience, and our gratitude. But we are not responsible for the final outcome. This shift in perspective frees us from the fear of uncertainty because we understand that nothing can happen except by Allah's will. And His will is always rooted in wisdom and mercy, even when we cannot see it. It is often in hindsight that we begin to see how what we thought was a setback was actually a protection, and how what we believed was a missed opportunity was actually a blessing in disguise. The door that closed pushed us towards something better. The delay we resented gave us the time we needed to grow. The plan that fell apart removed us from harm we didn't even know was coming. These moments show us that the one in control sees the whole picture while we see only a small fragment. When we hold on too tightly to control, we often find ourselves fighting against the very path that was meant to lead us to something greater. By releasing that grip and surrendering to Allah's wisdom, we open ourselves to a life of deeper trust, patience, and peace, knowing that our role is to take the steps, but the journey's end is determined by the one who knows best. Life's challenges are the proving ground where faith is not only tested, but also refined and strengthened. It is easy to speak of trust in Allah when the skies are clear and everything falls neatly into place. But the real measure of that trust emerges when storms gather, when plans crumble, and when the heart is forced to hold on to hope even when there is no visible sign of relief. These are the moments that strip away superficial faith and reveal whether trust in Allah is something deeply rooted in the heart or merely words spoken in comfort during easy times. Challenges have a way of showing us how limited we are. A sudden illness reminds us of how fragile our health truly is. Financial loss exposes how unstable material security can be. Betrayal from someone we trusted reveals that even the strongest human bonds are not immune to breaking. In each of these moments, we are faced with a choice: to sink into despair and anger, or to turn to the one who never fails, who never betrays, and whose resources are infinite. Trials create this crossroads, and the direction we choose can shape the entire course of our spiritual journey. Faith in Allah does not erase the pain of challenges, but it changes how we carry them. A person who trusts Allah understands that every trial has a purpose, even if that purpose is hidden. They know that hardship can be a cleansing process, washing away arrogance, material attachment, or sins that have weighed down the soul. They see challenges as invitations to draw nearer to Allah, to rely on Him more completely, and to strengthen the bond that will carry them through this life and into the next. Without challenges, faith can remain shallow, never tested in the fires that forge its depth and resilience. It is during the most difficult times that the heart learns the reality of the words, "Allah is sufficient for us and He is the best disposer of affairs." These are not just comforting phrases, they are a declaration of surrender, a reminder that when all doors close, the one who controls all doors still remains. Many people can recall moments in their lives when they faced situations so overwhelming that they could not see a way forward. Yet later, they realized that those very trials became turning points that brought them unexpected blessings. The job loss that led to a better career, the heartbreak that opened the door to a more fulfilling relationship, the delay that prevented them from being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Challenges also reveal the depth of our patience, which is inseparable from trust in Allah. Patience is not passive waiting. It is the act of continuing to move forward without bitterness, holding on to hope while doing what is within our power. It is the decision to believe that even when the situation appears hopeless, the one who split the sea for Musa and brought forth water from stone can create a path where none seems to exist. Life without challenges would be comfortable, but it would also be spiritually stagnant. Trials shake us from our complacency, force us to examine the foundation of our faith, and remind us that the ultimate safety and provision come only from Allah. In their own way, they are blessings in disguise because they strip away the false security we place in the world and redirect our hearts to the one who has been in control all along. Allah's wisdom encompasses every detail of our lives in ways that our limited understanding can never fully grasp. What seems random, unfair, or confusing from our perspective is part of a design so intricate that even the smallest events are woven together with purpose. We see only fragments of the picture, but Allah sees the entire canvas from beginning to end. When something we longed for is withheld, or when something we feared is allowed to happen, it is not because Allah is unaware or uncaring. It is because He knows what is best for us in both this life and the next, and His decisions are rooted in perfect knowledge and mercy. Often, we judge events by their immediate appearance, assuming that if something causes us discomfort or pain, it must be bad, and if it brings pleasure or ease, it must be good. Yet time and experience show us that this is not always true. Many things we once thought were disasters turn out to be blessings in disguise, and many things we once thought were blessings reveal hidden harm. A missed opportunity may spare us from a path that would have led to spiritual or emotional damage. An unexpected delay might align us with people or circumstances that will change our lives for the better. We do not always see these connections at the time, but Allah does, and His plan accounts for every unseen detail. Trusting in Allah's wisdom means accepting that He is aware of every hidden factor we cannot see. He knows the state of our hearts, the influences around us, the unseen dangers ahead, and the consequences that ripple out from every decision. His knowledge is not limited by time. He sees the past, present, and future as one, and every decree He makes is based on this complete awareness. This is why what feels like an unanswered prayer may actually be the most loving answer we could receive, and what feels like a painful loss may be a form of protection that saves us from greater harm. There are countless examples of this in the lives of believers. Someone might lose a job they desperately needed, only to find a better opportunity that fits their skills and values more perfectly. Another may experience a heartbreak that feels unbearable, but later meet someone whose presence brings deeper happiness and spiritual growth. Someone else may be delayed in traveling, frustrated at the disruption, only to later discover that the delay saved them from danger. These are glimpses of Allah's wisdom at work, though the majority of His wisdom remains hidden from our view until the day of judgment, when every mystery will be made clear. Understanding Allah's wisdom also teaches us humility. It reminds us that our own judgments are flawed and limited, and that what we desire is not always what will benefit us most. It shifts our perspective from demanding specific outcomes to asking Allah for what is best, even if it differs from what we envisioned. This surrender allows us to live with more peace, because we no longer measure every event by whether it fits our immediate plans, but by the trust that it fits Allah's perfect plan. This awareness does not remove the sting of disappointment or the difficulty of hardship, but it reframes them. Instead of feeling abandoned, we feel guided. Instead of believing life is against us, we believe that Allah is for us, even when His support comes in forms we do not yet understand. Holding on to this trust creates a steady anchor in the shifting tides of life, reminding us that every moment, pleasant or painful, is part of a divine script written with care, precision, and love beyond measure in life. There are times when we feel an overwhelming urge to control everything around us, to manage every detail and ensure that outcomes align perfectly with our desires. This often stems from the fear of uncertainty, the anxiety of not knowing what lies ahead, and the discomfort of feeling powerless. However, when we truly reflect on our existence, we realize that our control is limited to our choices and actions, while the results are entirely in the hands of Allah. No matter how much effort we put in, no matter how carefully we plan, the final outcome always follows the decree that has already been written for us. Surrendering to this reality does not mean we stop trying or become passive. Rather, it means we work with dedication, integrity, and sincerity while releasing the burden of trying to force the results we want. We understand that our role is to plant the seeds and nurture them, but it is Allah who determines whether they grow, how they grow, and when they bear fruit. This shift in mindset frees us from the constant stress of chasing after outcomes that may not be destined for us, and it replaces that stress with a calm reliance on the one who knows what is best. This surrender is not weakness, it is strength. It requires courage to acknowledge that our perspective is limited and that there is a higher wisdom guiding our lives. When a plan falls apart despite our best efforts, instead of drowning in frustration or hopelessness, we can remind ourselves that Allah's plan is unfolding and that His plan is always superior to ours. There is a quiet dignity in accepting that what we see as a loss may actually be a diversion away from harm or a preparation for something better yet to come. Many of the struggles we face in life are intensified by our resistance to what is happening. We spend so much energy wishing things were different, replaying scenarios in our heads, or imagining, if only, situations that never came to be. This mental struggle often exhausts us more than the actual challenge itself. Letting go and trusting in Allah removes this unnecessary suffering, allowing us to conserve our emotional and mental energy for what truly matters, responding with patience, gratitude, and faith. When we surrender to Allah's will, we also open ourselves to the beauty of the present moment. Instead of constantly looking back in regret or forward in anxiety, we can focus on where we are right now and what we can do in this moment. This is where contentment begins, when we stop measuring our peace by external circumstances and start finding it in our relationship with Allah. We begin to see His signs in our daily lives, whether in a small blessing, a meaningful conversation, or even in the way a difficulty draws us closer to Him. It is important to remember that surrendering to Allah does not mean suppressing our feelings or pretending we are unaffected by challenges. It is natural to feel sadness, disappointment, or even confusion. But instead of letting these emotions push us away from Allah, surrender turns them into a means of connection. We can bring our pain to Him in dua, knowing that He hears every word, understands every tear, and responds in ways beyond our imagination. This kind of surrender also transforms how we view success and failure. We stop seeing them as final verdicts and start viewing them as parts of a journey designed for our growth. What we call a failure may be an essential step toward the development of qualities like patience, humility, or resilience. What we call success may be a test of gratitude and responsibility. In both cases, the value lies not in the event itself, but in how it shapes our hearts and brings us closer to our Creator. There is a deep peace that comes when we learn to view our lives through the lens of gratitude. Gratitude is not limited to expressing thanks for the obvious blessings we enjoy. It extends to recognizing the subtle, hidden, and even challenging gifts that shape our journey. Every breath we take, every heartbeat, every safe return home, every moment of laughter with loved ones, these are blessings so constant that they often pass unnoticed. It is only when we pause to truly reflect that we begin to see the endless layers of mercy surrounding us. When gratitude becomes a habit, our outlook on life changes entirely, as we no longer measure our joy solely by what we receive, but by how much we recognize and appreciate what is already present. Gratitude has a way of opening the heart and shifting our focus away from what we lack to the abundance that is already in our lives. It keeps us from falling into the trap of endless comparison, where we measure our worth and happiness by the possessions, opportunities, or circumstances of others. Instead, we learn to celebrate the unique blessings written for us and to trust that our share is perfectly suited to our needs, even if it does not look like someone else's. This mindset frees us from the bitterness and dissatisfaction that comparison breeds and allows us to live with a more content and peaceful heart. It is also in moments of hardship that gratitude reveals its true strength. When life feels heavy and trials seem overwhelming, the heart can easily turn toward frustration or despair. But if we make a conscious effort to search for something to be grateful for even in the smallest details, it becomes a lifeline that steadies us through the storm. Gratitude in hardship is not about denying the difficulty we face. It is about recognizing that even in struggle, there are mercies surrounding us, whether it is the support of a loved one, the strength to endure another day, or the lessons that adversity teaches. Gratitude draws us closer to Allah because it acknowledges His constant involvement in every aspect of our lives. It is an act of worship that goes beyond words, manifesting in the way we use our blessings. When we are truly grateful, we do not take what we have for granted, nor do we misuse it. We see every gift as a trust, something to be honored, appreciated, and used in a way that pleases the one who gave it. This understanding deepens our sense of responsibility as we realize that gratitude is not just about feeling thankful. It is about living in a way that reflects that thankfulness. When gratitude becomes a daily practice, it transforms how we interpret the events of our lives. We start to notice that what once seemed like a delay was actually a form of protection, that a loss we mourned eventually opened the door to something greater, and that even the moments of waiting carried hidden blessings. Gratitude allows us to connect the dots between past experiences and present realities, helping us see the wisdom in events we once struggled to understand. Another powerful effect of gratitude is its ability to soften the heart. When we are grateful, we become more patient, more forgiving, and more compassionate toward others. We stop fixating on their faults and start appreciating their good qualities. We also become more generous because gratitude naturally inspires us to share our blessings rather than guard them jealously. A grateful heart is open and expansive, making room for love, kindness, and humility to flourish. Living with gratitude does not mean we will never desire more or strive for improvement, but it means our striving is rooted in contentment rather than restlessness. We work for betterment not because we are empty, but because we are full of appreciation for what we already have and hopeful for what is yet to come.